everybody, welcome back for another video. In today's video, we're gonna do a little drawing. Let me get let's see. Things that we're gonna need. First thing I'm gonna need is some sort of a pencil and an eraser. You can use, I'm gonna use a coal erase pencil just because it's brown and I think it will show up better. You can use like a graphite pencil if you want. You can use a kneadable eraser. You can use like a regular pencil. We're probably gonna need a fine liner, 0.8 and a 0.5. And we might use some watercolor or colored pencils or something like that. We'll get to that when we get to that. Now, when I'm drawing my tree, I try to make things very simple. I draw a circle, and then I draw a little stem like a lollipop, just to kind of give me a basic guide for the tree. Then I might add a couple of branches and thicken out the base or the trunk of the tree. And then I like to draw these kind of like little curvy bird-like shapes. And you can go as close to your circle, or you can make it a little bit fuller and give it more shape. And all I'm doing is adding just these, little bird-like W's or U's, and then wherever you feel they need to be. Now I'm going in with my fine liner. This is a Copic multi-liner, and I decided I wanted to give it a ground so you could see how it looks in the horizon. And I'm just kind of gently going over the shapes that I made, the little V's and the trunk and the grounding. I'm not going over the circle. That's going to get covered with watercolor or colored pencil, or you can erase it if you want to. I'm leaving it in there just to kind of show you what it looks like. And here we are doing another tree, and I'm just adding a couple of circles to it. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. It's just a guide. And again, putting the tree trunk, the main stem of the tree, and it can change. The shape can change as you're drawing it, and that's okay. And I'm following a little bit of the shape just to kind of show that this is a thicker, fuller tree. I put the grounding line in there again. If you want to have branches that you can see in the middle of the tree to show that there's like a little bit maybe depth to it. And I pulled out the same multi-liner, and we're going over some of those little bird-like W's or M's or U's or whatever you want to call those. We're going over the stem, the trunk of the tree, and I'm just adding some of them and even putting a little pen on the ground line. Now with this tree here, I decided let's make something a little bit more rectangular in shape. And so I do the exact same thing. I drew the rectangle, I drew the stem, I drew the ground, a couple extra branches, and these little W's everywhere, just to kind of, give it that shape that we think of when we think of a tree. And I'm going over everything with the fine liner again. And, if you like what you had, copy it. If you don't like what you had, change it, because this is, where you get that chance to do that. Now I'm pulling out my watercolors. I have a set of St. Petersburg White Knights here. And I had some that I had already mixed up, some different shades on my little ceramic circles. I'm using lemon yellow, cadmium yellow medium. I'm using it's kind of like a sap green, and I'm also using a bit of the burnt umber to create some of the depth of the greens that I need. And I'm also using that burnt umber, that kind of like a chocolatey brown for the stems and the tree trunks. So I'm just mixing up my color, adding some water, and I'm going to kind of smush it and smudge it where it needs to go. But I'm trying to go very, very light. You can see I'm using an aqua brush. Sorry, the puppy's below me whimpering. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of color. And you can wait, since we've got 3 trees, wait for one to dry, add some color to the other. And if they're nice, thin, light layers, they'll dry faster. I thought the top one needed a little bit more green in some places. And you'll see this is that sap green with the cadmium medium light. It kind of gives it a really nice bright green quality, like a good springtime green on your tree. And now we're switching to a slightly darker color. This has the brown and the green in it. More brown than green. I'm adding a little bit of water, you can see. Adding a little bit more brown. See how that green just gives it a little bit more depth. It makes it so it doesn't feel so flat looking. Adding a little bit more of the brown because it was a little slightly on the greener side. And I think this is what I use for the tree trunk. Yes. It's a good start for the tree trunk. And I'll do this to all 3 of the trees. Now that we have the trees filled in, we have our darker green, and we're going to add some darker elements to the trees. I've added a little bit of water just to kind of reactivate what I had on the ceramic dish, and we're going to add a little bit more of that sap green just to give it a little bit more depth as well, so we can really see the difference between the light and the shadow in the trees. And you could follow the rules of light, like if it's coming from the left to the right, have everything on the right more shaded and everything on the left dark, or you could have it coming from above or from the right or from like underneath, from like a sunset. Would totally change the way the tree would look. What I would recommend is going out into like a forest or a hiking trail and get some photos randomly throughout the day so you can see how the trees look in different types of shade, so that way if you want to make what you're doing look a little bit more realistic, you can, or do what I do and just do what kind of feels natural, or what you like the way it looks. It may be totally unrealistic, and that's okay, because this is your painting, and I'm doing this in just a little sketchbook watercolor insert I made that I mainly use with Patreon. This was a tutorial that I did on Patreon, and I did the whole thing, not sped up, with all of the talking through it. So it ends up being probably about a good 35-minute or so, 40-minute tutorial, because I talk about other things as well while we're doing this. So it kind of becomes a sit and paint with me while I chat and we learn about these little trees that I love drawing. Now we're just adding a little bit of that first green to the grass to just, ground our trees a little bit. And so here we've got like a little scene of 3 trees, on a plane. Yeah. was kind of a my quick little tutorial on doing trees. Very, very, very simple. And you can see, like, it doesn't take a lot of like intense fine-tuned drawing, but just to show you the colors I used sap green, kind of I used a cadmium yellow medium, the nice bright yellow. Now remember, it has cadmium in it, so you know, don't drink your water. I used a little bit of this, which is the burnt umber. I love the color of the St. Petersburg burnt umber. I don't know what it is about it, but I really like it. And I used a little bit of the red ochre right here. It's such a pretty color. And you know, I might have had mixed in this little pan over here with the browns. There might have been a little of the ochre light, which is kind of like a yellow ochre. But the St. Petersburg one is really, really light. So those are the, oh, I guess I did put a little hint of emerald in there when I made the darker green. It just added a little something to it. So those colors down there help to create those trees. I hope this little tutorial was helpful for you. You can use, like I did, like this is just a little 12 palette of watercolors by St. Petersburg. It's their like basic set. You got your cools and your warms, and you know, it's a good mixing palette, but it's got a lamp black, and like ultramarine is a great mixing color, and the cobalt azure, two good greens, and you can do so much with those greens, with the yellows, the ochres, and the burnt umber. Yeah, so there you go. Or if you want to use your, I won't open it, your little gouache palette, go for it. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave them in the comments down below on the YouTube video. And this is just mixed media paper. It's nothing, you know, nothing fancy. Actually, this is the back side of it, so it's really, really, really smooth. This is the textured side. So there we are. Have fun. Give this a try. If you give it a try, let me know how it goes. Okay? Bye-bye. I hope I was in the center.